there were rumors and speculation that Michael's gambling played a role in his father's murder. Michael denied this very clearly, and to me, I think very authentically, I think it was irresponsible for those of us in the media, anybody that gave any of that any credence as it relates to Jordan's father. And having watched this documentary, it really brought into focus, he just had won his third title. He had been telling people that he was thinking about retiring, and then his father dies during the summer of 1993. The retirement makes perfect sense. I just don't think it has anything to do with gambling. What did you guys think of the way the docuseries handled the gambling conspiracies around Michael Jordan?
I loved how they handled it. They showed both sides of the coin. They showed you Jordan's truth, his perspective, what he saw, what he went through, and his reality, his emotion. But they also addressed the conspiracy theories, the elephant in the room. They didn't hide from it. They actually tackled that head on. And we all can sit here and say there are three sides to every story. But in that sense, because they cover both sides, they really squeezed us to a place where you have to believe them because they came off as authentic and they tried to address it from all angles. So I truly respect that. A grander point that came from this also was the fact that a lot of times we attribute what we think of someone onto who they are versus what they're really going through. And it's just funny to watch that song and dance. Because everyone always, when you bring up Jordan in the barbershop, 6 championships, no game 7s, the best to ever do it, eclipsed Magic Johnson's 5. And then you start to realize Jordan didn't care after 3. Like, Jordan was just like, as long as I got 3 in a row, I was good. And it's just amazing how we can give legs to anything, as we were giving legs to the conspiracy theory back then about his father and his gambling. So it's just good to see him strip away all in his reality and show you his naked truth. I loved how they covered it.
I appreciate that they addressed it, but I'm going back to earlier in this series when the gambling first came up and we were promised that it was going to be addressed. And yes, I agree with you, Jason. Irresponsible for anybody just to float those rumors or try to make that connection without having enough evidence to do so. But this felt like a great opportunity just to bash the media for making that connection, and we fly right by the whole gambling issue. That still hasn't been addressed because one of the reasons that it came up was because there was so much evidence that Michael did a lot of gambling for what the average person would consider was a lot of money. And whether he had a problem or he didn't have a problem or whether it interfered in any way, that never is truly addressed. I would love to hear from Michael what it was about gambling. He played for the highest stakes in his game. And obviously he loved adding some juice to it in everything he did. What was it about that satisfied him? So I would love to hear that aspect of it. And if he had addressed that, then I feel like I can move on. But this felt to me like a great opportunity to, how dare you connect my father's death to my gambling? The media is terrible for doing that. And granted, was. But it now leaves open, okay, so what was it about the gambling? How bad was it? What was it that appealed to you? That still has never been addressed, and it leaves a hole in this whole narrative for me.
Rick, and I hate to go here, but I got to go here with a slight joke here, and I apologize up front. I'm going to address it more seriously, but I've spent 75% of my money on gambling, booze, and women, and I've wasted the rest of it. So I just want to say the mystery of gambling isn't that hard to figure out, man. It's one of the funnest things you can do. But I'll say this on a more serious note. As it relates to his dad, I just think any discussion of Michael's gambling playing a role in his dad is so unbelievably unfair. And this is where I would criticize the doc while defending the documentary. I think Michael Jordan, because the only thing I was disappointed with was that we didn't really get the raw emotion of Michael talking about his relationship with his father. They showed the video of Michael on the ground crying after winning a championship and just sobbing unbelievable. But we don't have anything of Michael today reflecting on that and really deeply reflecting on his father. And the reason why I don't think we have that, and I think people are gonna say, well, man, that sounds silly. But I really think the Michael Jordan crying meme over social media has made Michael be like, I'm not going to give you that kind of emotion in this documentary and have anyone take any of it and make it a joke over social media. Me crying authentically about my father. And so that's my only really question about the documentary is I wanted to see Michael today more reflective, more open about how tight he and his dad were and that relationship. But I just think he feels like he's been treated so unfairly by the media about his dad's death. Could you imagine? Your dad is murdered, and people are without any evidence speculating that you had some role in that. I would be angry, bitter, and be like, you know what? I can't share any of this with anybody because it could be used against me. That would be my disappointment. If we wanted to have a discussion about Michael and gambling and was he Pete Rose, did it affect him on the court, blah, 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 that's one thing. And maybe it would have been nice for the documentary to cover that. But I can't really criticize the documentary, man. It's been the greatest thing we've had during this pandemic. Marcellus, if you got any final thoughts or additional thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting you came to that place. You talk about that you wanted him to go deeper, be even more naked about his emotion and his connection to his father. I thought he did a great job of that. And I don't think they stopped short because of the Jordan meme. He survived the Jordan meme almost to the point where it introduced him to other people outside of his audience and humanized him. He even made mention in light of it at Kobe's wake. So I think that he's fine with the meme in terms of showing his emotion and would have went there again if it was necessary. But I really want to talk to the great point of he knows that people blame him for his father's death without any really great merit, great evidence. They just go there. And him, with all the power of approving what goes in his doc, circle that conversation. That's amazing. Your dad's gone. They blame you, and you say, you know what? I'm still going to address what you are trying to blame me of that has no merit. So this situation, to me, I think they really attacked it head on with really no stops in place. Just let's address it. Let's get out of the way. Of course, there's always going to be another example of what we want to see, but I think they did a great job at addressing all of it.
Yeah, let me be clear. It's outrageous that anybody made that connection and completely unfair, and how he handled that is actually admirable. That because I can't even imagine how I would have. All that said, the pictures said everything for me. I don't know that I needed him to say more. The glimpses of him when you knew the backstory and you see the look on his face as he's playing for that first championship after his father's death on Father's Day said more than anything he could have said to me. The one missing element that I'm interested in, and it's been missing throughout this documentary, is when I think of my dad, I think of being a dad. And my tribute to him in many ways is trying to be the father to my son and daughter that my father was to me. And we get none of that from Michael, who is a father, and how his relationship with his dad and losing his dad informed or impacted his relationship with his kids. And I dare say fame and his pursuit of excellence probably was a factor in it. But I can't help but think and wonder, like, what about that relationship in light of this other one?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.